wild news cycle the last few days. President Trump ending the Israel-Iran 12 days war swiftly and strategically with the B-2 bombers and also those Tomahawk missiles ordered by President Trump and General Dan Kane, the Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman, doing an extraordinary job. As President Trump puts it, he's not a TV general. He's one of those real generals at the Pentagon, protecting the American people and doing what's best and going through countless congressional hearings, even dating back to the sending of troops with the National Guard to Los Angeles, getting a string of ridiculous questioning with him and Secretary Haque having to go through the nonsense and the lies of demon rat leadership. As we look live there now, President Trump arriving in The Hague, Netherlands via Air Force One. And we know that Secretary of State Marco Rubio is on board with him. They will rendezvous with United States Ambassador to NATO, Matt Whitaker, who served valiantly in many different roles, but especially as Deputy Attorney General in the first term and as acting Attorney General for a short period of time under President Trump. Another person who's gone through countless congressional hearings and fake questioning by a party that sadly now hates the country, all led by that Palestinian senator, crying Chuck Schumer of New York. But we will watch live now as President Trump will exit Air Force One for the Netherlands for meetings with not only this beautiful country, but the NATO summit. It comes at really a perfect time to solve even more problems as president working around the clock in order to make America great again. And it's an exciting time to be covering all of this here for you on Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. You remember us as the Rally Network. We are this live desk, if you're just tuning in now, at 1:40 Eastern, and that is roughly 10:40 on the West Coast. I'm going to check the time in the Netherlands to give you an exact timing for what is taking place there as the sun sets on a beautiful country. But President Trump, I'm sure, looking forward to solving these problems, as he put it during the press gaggle this morning. And the current time there in the Netherlands, it is 7:41 p.m. As President Trump left early this morning. In that box right there, you see those other leaders arriving, and that is Prime Minister Mark Carney with his lovely wife of Canada, who was just with President Trump recently hosting in Alberta the G7 summit. And great deals getting done there within 24 hours. President Trump was supposed to stay longer for that, but was summoned back to the White House in due time for national security issues taking place in regards to Iran, and ultimately what we saw with that situation there with the execution of the B-2 bombers and also the Tomahawk missiles that were taking place over the course of the last few hours. And President Trump there live now in the Netherlands as we watch different world leaders coming to the NATO summit and the opening ceremonies of what's sure to be a frank discussion. President Trump wants 5% GDP across the board for all nations, and even dividing up of the GDP for security purposes. And some have really complained about those issues there. But let's look live there now as we expect President Trump to be exiting the Air Force One momentarily. President Trump arriving in The Hague, Netherlands. It's the capital of South Holland, the province there where the NATO summit is underway. Also the capital of the country, Amsterdam, one of the oldest constitutional monarchies and in the entire world, so entire Western world, and a great location for what's sure to be very frank discussions on this matching of the GDP at 5%. Spain is not in favor of it and has been very vocal about that, saying that its social system, which is very high in welfare, cannot afford it, quite frankly. And President Trump is moving to get all of NATO to be on the same page, to pay their fair share, and it makes sense. He's done it before. So as he said on the plane, I'm coming to solve more problems, just like we solved with Iran and other